first game and first ban instantly is that Kalista.
Yeah, not too surprising. I think this had 100% fan rate as well yesterday in both sets of games, so not too surprising that we see that taken away. And Corki as well did make it through in 2 games, but was otherwise taken away for the most part.
There's been some Kalista deprioritization this season, but still 4th overall for bans.
Yep.
Basically picked every other time. It's up there in pick and ban, I believe. Over 90% pick ban stat on that champion. Gangplank banned again, so these teams still respecting the Gangplank on 6.4.
Well, after seeing Hippo's performance on it, that's not too surprising. He almost single-handedly carried that team to victory in the second set.
Watching Crown, checking his solo queue, seeing what champions bringing up, notably no Victor in his match history. A lot of Twisted Fate though, so maybe that was the pick he was starting to move towards. He was always a decent Twisted Fate player, but again, dominated this champion pool with largely Victor since his debut in the summer season of champions last year. 1 in 3 games he has played Victor. That is how much has been dominant. Of course, he's been banned as well against him, but actually playing it a third of the time lets you know this guy basically a Victor main by competitive standards.
Yeah, very prominent on that. It's going to be Varus and Lulu to round out the bans. No surprise with the Lulu. Varus just being taken away. We did see a little bit of Varus yesterday as well in 1 game. It went decently well. So
do notice that LeBlanc, the terrorizing LeBlanc of week 6, so far available. It's a pretty safe blue side pick, but of course Lissandra, the flex pick nature. Though with Samsung, Cuvée is a Lissandra god. This guy is conceptualizing the fights. His laning is wonderful on the Lissandra, so I heavily expect top lane Lissandra. Crown, though when he did play Lissandra, struggled on it in lane, but did actually translate that laning phase, which was poor, into good solid team fight.
Yeah, it would be pretty surprising if they give that one over to Crown instead of Cuvée. You can see the hovers coming in from KT so far. Score possibly taking up the Nidalee, like you said, if he takes that early dominance in the jungle. KT usually wins the game, and that would be a great way to get started with a hyper-aggressive, invasive jungler. Like
Nidalee is seen as the pick of junglers. Her pressure game, the fact that she ganks the enemy jungler, she shadows the jungler, she steals buffs, she causes pressure, and she keeps the enemy jungler down. If Score can do that against Ambition, it's going to be a big success. Someday was, of course, mousing over the Kayle. We know never to rule out a lock-in for Somedays. Already played Rammus top last series out. What was he playing? You noted it, Jace top. So if it's carry, if it's a tank, if it's in the meta or if it's out, Someday always the threat. And on the red side especially, last pick could certainly be another Someday top lane carry.
Yeah, well, it looks like Ambition is going to match with an equally aggressive jungler, go for the Kindred. Now, whether or not he's going to go for the Sated Devourer build or the Warrior enchantment, like we saw twice yesterday did Sated Devourer, is yet to be seen.
I think the big question is, what do you have with that Sated Devourer Ezreal, right? We've got a Lissandra who's going to have an early power spike, but they've already locked in Ezreal. Let's wait to see where the draft goes, because if they go greedy, if it's 2-tier champions, 2 scaling champions, I really don't like the Devourer. But while I wasn't necessarily made a believer of Devourer Kindred yesterday, it certainly was a popular pick. It seems like something that's definitely been dominating the upper echelons of Korean solo queue.
Yeah, now we can see the hover over the Poppy, something that Someday would very much be comfortable bringing up. So it wouldn't be too shocking. We might actually see Caitlyn coming out as well. We saw that played once yesterday. And now the flip over to Kog'Maw, which did make it through the draft, but it's going to be Caitlyn in the end as they go ahead and lock this in. So once again, Caitlyn did get some slight buffs on 6.4, so she is more powerful.
Caitlyn got some slight buffs, Kog'Maw got some slight nerfs, but to the point where we're not seeing him, that's the surprise. Seeing Kog'Maw fall through drafts or other AD carries being preferred over the Kog'Maw is not something I saw. I mean, base attack speed nerfs are doubly impactful for Kog'Maw, who builds a lot of attack speed, and if you get 40% more of lower base attack speed, you're getting less returns.
Yeah.
But also simply, his W ability, you know, the main part of his kit, doubles his base attack speed or doubles his attack speed, and if you're always going to be at lower values, it is a direct damage nerf, but enough to push him out, that's the surprise.
Yeah. Now, what do you think about these hovers so far?
I really hope we're not going to... Wow, the Zillion's locked in, okay.
So they're just going to go ahead and lock the Zillion. Trundle being hovered for the support role for Wraith. We did see a bit of Trundle support yesterday as well. It's really grown in popularity.
Certainly seen some interesting Zillion comps. CJ was probably the main offender, you'd have to say, with the Zillion Rek'Sai comp with no other synergies. Lissandra obviously has great flank options, but you don't really see someone who is going to be using the suite of utility from Zillion effectively. I guess Lissandra now potentially could go into the middle of the fight, self-ult, then Zhonya's, then get a Zillion ult, but there's so much setup required for not that much gain, really, that I'm surprised to see the Zillion locked in on the side of Samsung.
It is a a bit surprising. So now all eyes on this last pick for KT. It is their mid lane selection coming up. Hachani with a long hover over this Kassadin.
Kassadin was always seen as a strong laning counter back in the days of Silence. The last time Zilean was in the meta, end of Season 2, beginning of Season 3. The ironic if we saw the LeBlanc come out. Again, Assassins are a good matchup against Zilean. If you CC him, if you stun him, then of course he won't be able to self-ult, won't be able to ult an ally either. But Fly has been playing consistently wave clear champions. It tells you a lot that Victor is available and not locked in by either of these players, because of any two players in champions, Kuro included, you'd expect Fly or Crown to be piloting that Victor.
Yep, but it will be Lux in the end. So like you said, sticking with the wave clear. Probably a bit more effective now than Victor since he got that nerf to his death, right?
It's a really powerful siege comp on the side of KT. You go under a turret, 5 traps come down, the zoning comes through from the Lux. Nidalee poke, of course, can be registered. You've got 2 goalkeepers or 2 tanks with strong peel in Alistair and Poppy. So, very strong siege comp coming from KT. No outscale for once on their side. Samsung also have pretty early power spikes. The big question will be, where does Ambition go with his build path? And how does Ambition perform in the jungle? Because it's 2 high-pressure junglers. If one gets a big advantage, I could see some significant snowball coming out, but you'd give the slight edge to Nidalee. But we've seen Kindred's level 2 duel all sorts of enemy junglers. Anything is possible.
Very much. And like you said, the biggest thing for me is where is Ambition going to go as far as his jungle item? Because we saw so much Devour, it didn't really work out for the Kindreds. I kind of want to see the more reliable Warrior enchantment. But you never know with these guys what they're going to go for.
And what does Zilean accomplish? You got Lissandra for initiate from a flank, but doesn't feel like the Zilean-Lissandra synergy. No one else really seems to demand that Zilean ult, so
yeah.
What does Zilean achieve? That's what I want to learn through the course of this game.
We'll find out very soon as we get ready to go into game. It's going to be Samsung versus KT, game 1 when we come back. And we are back just like that on the Rift for game 1. Samsung versus KT Rolster in a best of 3 set. Samsung especially looking for a win after getting 2-0'd by KT the last time these teams fought.
Once again, we have Fly going with the mid lane Lux. Loves to pilot this champion. Right next to Victor is one of his most played this season. Always that issue with Lux though of getting ganked. Her laning phase is pretty weak, especially until she gets reliable wave clear. Level 6 with the ult, and then level 9 with 5 points in her E. You look at some of the guests that come through this lane, for example, Cuvée coming over a wall, even with Cleanse, there's potentially enough burst to take down that Lux. So, has taken Cleanse this time. We've seen heal from Fly, we've seen teleport from Fly. I think you need the Cleanse. This is a champion that's all about staying at that 1,000+ range. And gap closes are the bane of her existence, and Cleanse will at least give her one defensive option before QSS or any other defensive utility comes out.
We see Wraith and Core JJ sitting in this river brush.
Till very late, it's 140 already.
Yeah, and they are going to get, I can't tell if they got spotted or not by the ward. It does not look like it. There's no pigs coming out, so they're just going to go straight up to these Krugs and try to interrupt Hachani and Arrow.
Got the small Krug already.
Yep. So it looks like they're just going to go ahead and back off.
But they're going to get to lane first after getting a Krug, so...
Yeah, it's still good advantage over to KT right now.
It feels like Samsung lost in a couple ways. It's also level 1 Alistair. We don't know what he's skilled, so he's threatening Pulverize by walking up.
Shani taking a bit of damage.
Have to think it was heal at this point.
Yeah.
Helps the most with the Krugs. So that was Samsung going for a really cheeky late invade, but it was so late. They were still in the lane bush at 135 that they gained nothing out of it. It should be the first level 2 over to KT.
Yeah, we'll see what they do with that. That's going to be Hachani getting it. Does he go for the combo? He's definitely threatening it, just trying to shove them off of these minions, doing a very good job of zoning.
Again, we heavily expect him to have heal and Pulverize, but why not walk up and threaten? Because you have to respect it. He has not healed yet in lane.
Yeah, really good potential mind games coming out here from Hachani. There it is, shows the heal.
They finally shows that it was indeed heal level 1. I just love the mind games though.
Yeah, I got you guys.
Hachani's a thinking man's player. Remember, this guy was coaching Rebels Anarchy now at Freak of Freaks last season, so certainly known for his drafting and his shot calling, and even those little cute veteran lane mechanics as well.
See Wraith here just trying to stay near these creeps, but Arrow doing such a good job harassing him down with that extended range that Caitlyn has in her kit. And Johnny going for a little bit of an invade. But Wraith knows exactly what he's up to. We'll just throw down the pillar and stop that invasion from coming through.
So the fact that this has been this cold lane swap up top, you have to think benefits KT. It's going to be Caitlyn building fight AD against the scaling build from Ezreal. It's also going to be intense wave clear versus very little wave clear options, especially with the True Shot Barrage nerfs on patch 6.4. So that means if KT want to start invading this enemy jungle, they have a lot of options. Sunday's really low.
Taking a bit of damage, just really wants to get that shield back.
But the big winner there, if you have lane push, is going to be this Nidalee. We talked about her being the sort of jungler that holds down the enemy jungler rather than necessarily being a strong ganking jungler. Plenty of room to do that when the enemy bot lane is completely pushed up the top side.
So far, no deep invasive moves coming out from either of these junglers. They have both gone back, completed the tracker's knife.
This potion's been the story on these
Yeah.
Kindred players.
Pretty much, yeah, both Kindred games yesterday.
A lot of gold spent on scaling if we do see Devourer.
Score going for a little bit of invasion, sealing away those Raptors.
I hate to say it, but it feels like Zilean is one of the few lanes that Lux can probably out-pressure in the early game. So we talked about top lane. If KT wish to push this lane in, they can. Lux also has those options earlier in the mid lane. Bot lane's a bit of a wash.
Oh, Johnny goes in, gets a headbutt pulverize. Built over Peacemaker, does go through onto core JJ, but he's still quite healthy.
Just knowing that 2 out of 3 lanes will definitely have a pushing advantage means that if Score wants to be aggressive, certainly can.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to start with this. There's no river coverage here for Samsung.
Hasn't been spotted, has the Raptor sense.
Yeah, throws out the javelins, not going to land. That's just going to send Score straight back into the jungle.
See on the minimap though, Ambition looking for a face check.
Yeah, they do have a ward of this Krug camp, so he knows that Score's just sitting here. Clears it out, jumps over the wall though. Score has to pop the heal on himself, tries to get away, blows the flash. Has to jump out, that's gonna be the pillar coming down. Heal as well from Arrow to keep him alive. Nice play by Samsung. Drawing out both the flash and the heal from KT.
Chani was really smart putting that ward down in this camp around the Krugs. So the Raptor sense wasn't popped by Score because there was no lane ward as you'd expect.
Yep.
Instead, they got a big jungle pressure advantage and now flash down on the Nidalee. Suddenly, those jungle invasions are that much more risky with no flash available.
Yep, and as statistics show, Score falling slightly behind. This could be a Samsung game.
Well, stats are pretty clear. I believe KT have a 100% win record if they get first dragon, which will come crushing down one day. One stat I want to point out is percentage of team damage between these mid laners. Crown is right up the top of percentage team damage, I believe 3rd in the league at 33%. Fly is completely at the other end, only 24% of his team's damage behind both Arrow and Someday. He's been known more for that utility, playing the likes of the Lulu, right?
Yeah.
A bit of Lissandra, a bit of Lux, as you can see. Crown is definitely going to have less damage output on a champion that only has the bomb or the double bomb for damage, so we have to look to Fly to shoulder a bit more damage for his team this game. There's not going to be Crown also to mention for Samsung.
Yeah, as long as he can land those skill shots on the very elusive team that is Samsung, it should be okay. But of course, you do have Ezreal who can jump away with the Arcane Shift. You do have the Zilean who can speed himself up. Any of the Lissandra that can take Glacial Path.
And if you catch one person, Zilean can chuck down that ult as well.
Yeah. So it's going to be really tough for Fly to 100-0 or something that Lux would love to do.
But has those defensive options, much like Orianna with the shielding. So quite good.
Can neither kill nor be killed, perhaps.
Well, that sounds pretty good. Overall, that sounds like
It's a decent trade.
a decent spot to be in. If you're into bloodthirsty games, maybe not.
Yeah. Which I am. So it's unfortunate for me.
Play-by-play castles into bloodthirsty games. First time I've heard that.
Oh, Crown actually taking a bit of damage. Oh, didn't even use the ultimate on himself. Almost gets popped by that passive.
I don't know if that was calculated or a mistake.
I'd like to think that it was calculated for Crown's sake. Just hold on to it. Nice damage though by Fly. Poor JJ, of course, getting harassed a bit in his top lane. It's going to be the True two-shot barrage thrown out. Will Papachani down a little bit, but he's Alistar. He has those shields, as well as the Relic Shield. Charges to get himself back up to full.
This is the laning matchup. Playing out as expected, Caitlyn pressuring the Ezreal. Ezreal ults, but with that longer cooldown, won't have any other AoE wave clear for quite a while.
Yep. So everything going according to plan and as expected. It's going to be Score still inching ahead with a bit of a CS lead despite being shoved out of his jungle.
And I spy with my little eye a recurve bow in the inventory of Ambition.
Yes, you do.
What is infected solo queue in Korea, Achilleos?
I couldn't tell you.
Because the weird thing is, you think about why people are going to Devour Kindred. The passive, certainly, that current health damage makes a lot of sense, but the rest of the build path doesn't really function well. There's no Blade of the Ruin King coming out, which is usually what happens when we see Sated Devourer. It's usually the utility items like more Malmortius we've been seeing mainly, so it seems to be a passive-focused build, which suggests that a lot of jungle farming and invasion has to happen to ensure you get those marks of the Kindred fast enough to justify the Devourer. But Tia, Devourer, is risky to run two of these truly scaling champions in the same lineup.
Yeah, and you brought it up with the Maul Malmortius. What do you think the chances that we see Arrow building that as well? Against the Lissandra and the Zilean.
I don't know if it's really a Caitlyn item.
No.
Usually the Maul is on champions that are fighting in mid to short range rather than necessarily the long range champions. So Graves, for example, definitely going to be picking out more. If you're going Kindred and you're building, say, Blade of the Ruin King, Hurricane, then Maul and Steric's Gauge make a lot of sense because, again, you're trying to skip around the front lines. But Caitlyn at 650 range, QSS is usually enough in terms of the magic resist, but there is the outside chance if the fights go really crazy and she feels like she can't get away or keep that 650 range, there's always that option. I think Maul is objectively the strongest item in the game right now just because of the stats it provides during the overshield portion, so there's going to be a Maul this game, don't worry.
I do not doubt it. Arrow, though, goes back, gets that BF Sword and Berserker Greaves right off the bat. And of course, for JJ going with the shoehorn build for Blue Ezreal of that Sheen and Tier of the Goddess.
The blue build.
Yeah. No level 3 tier like we saw yesterday for Kramer.
I mean, 3-minute tier.
That's what I meant, yeah.
That was a really early tier. Led to a 21-minute Miramana, bringing back War Stories of Season 3. When Jace and Italy had their 16 to 18-minute tier transformations.
The glory days.
Yes, the glory days. That's what we'll call them.
I was a Jace main at the time, so it was,
okay,
it
sure.
was wonderful.
Your glory days, absolutely.
So it looks like both of these junglers now hovering around the
On
middle
the
of the
face
lane.
check.
Yep, Score gets jumped on by Ambition, takes a little bit of damage, but won't have too much follow. Crown unable to throw out those bombs over the wall. Now the roam down from Tachani. They should be quite safe to go ahead and take out this big ward.
Let's see how much pressure KT can take, again, during this very obvious scaling phase for Samsung. Mark of the Kindred acquired.
Yeah, oh, Crown being taken quite low. Does have his ultimate on for himself. Has to flash away. Just in time as his ultimate does drop off of him, so no first blood coming through quite yet, but good aggression by Fly. Like you said, really punishing the Zilean early on.
It's two losing lanes and a scaling jungler. Only Lissandra really providing any early pressure, and Someday has enough magic resist to, as you can see, win this lane. So KT now have access to 3 winning lanes. The question is, much like the question we posed multiple times yesterday, what can KT make of this time where Samsung has no business fighting them? Rift Herald, turrets, taking that Dragon especially. Dragon is an excellent win condition for KT this game, but if they just mill around and allow Ambition time to farm up, the Blue Ezreal time to farm, because remember, you need to pair that Zilean ult with one of your damage carries, both of which are scaling with Tyr and Devour respectively. If you give them that time, then you can't be surprised when they show up late game and just have a lot of damage and utility that they don't have at 12 minutes.
Yep, now Score rolling up to this top side as they try to make something happen. Chani just does not go for the headbutt pulverized play. The tower down to half HP, but I don't think any kills or tower takes are going to come off of this push quite just yet.
Walk away despite having a pink ward and no reaction from the enemy mid laner. So it might just be a fly on the wall. Know what the shot call is that's saying that it's time to pull back, because whatever they want, KT, they are in a position to take.
just continue this push, keeping Core JJ stuck underneath these towers. They just slowly whittle away at it. Score has some fun back into his jungling.
Those traps are so strong.
Yeah.
You just see 4 plop down almost instantly. Aren't familiar, guys? We're on patch 6.4 today, so more flat damage coming out from the traps now with the headshot auto attacks. That's really heavily incentivizing maxing W second with 2 seconds less cooldown base on the 90 caliber net as well.
Pretty good tune-ups there, Caitlyn.
He's killing invisible wards on my screen. It's interesting. Invisible minions, sorry. We did have a pink ward Iceborne Gola yesterday.
I wonder if we're going to have the pink ward again.
6.4 has already been weird and wonderful, Achilles.
It's a great way to kick off round 2.
You haven't had the infamous OGN bug splat yet. There's still time.
Oh, that's very true. I can't wait. I've seen it happen so many times.
It's true. It's a staple.
Watching, so.
Staple of OGN broadcasts is Riot's observer mode just exploding.
Yeah. You know, I've noticed that Korean Lysandra is much more prominent when watching on the stream than it is while casting.
That's a lucky thing, right? Must be something to do with the sound balance in our headsets. Thank you, OGN.
Thank the heavens.
And you notice KT not rushing to take down this turret. They want to keep punishing Ezreal in lane, but only 14 CS behind. The punishment's been pretty minimal, and we talked about getting things done during the scaling phase. My goodness, Samsung is literally saying, they're basically waving the white flag and saying, we'll be back in 10 minutes. If this was a cafe, there'd be a sign on the door, back in 10, because Rod of Ages, Devourer, Catalyst, tier. There's literally no immediate stats. Everyone is investing for the late game. Samsung had, just renamed from Samsung Galaxy to Samsung Investment Bankers, so if you don't punish them, they're going to get the delayed benefit, and 30 minutes is looking like go time for Samsung.
Yep, no plays being made for the Rift Herald or the Dragon, as you said. Which would be something very worthwhile for PT. Just not able to find that opening. I wonder if we're going to see as many Dragon Rift Herald trades as we saw yesterday. Pretty much every single game.
It's just you're missing windows here, KT. I really want to see them making things happen. Now, there's no guarantee that Samsung, despite having all that delayed benefit at 30 minutes, will be able to win team fights. We still have that issue of thinking, okay, Lysandra comes in from a flank. That'll work 1 out of every 3 times, let's say. What does the rest of a fight look like when you have 2 backliners, a Trundle, and a Zillion? Not sure. They don't really have a clear identity in comp. The Zillion certainly isn't paired with the Poppy, which is one of our favorite combinations to speed up those big Keeper's Verdict initiates. We saw CJ have that Putrid Zillion comp last week, so no guarantees, but again, early game, not the purview for Samsung, but the game's all tied up. It's only 1,000 between the 2 teams.
Yeah, well, here we go. Someday getting engaged on Frozen 2 coming down, has to flash away. The Nidalee is here to try to help. Pops the heal, but I don't think it's going to be enough, and it is not. It's going to be First Blood going over to Ambition. Nice start for Samsung.
Yeah, and the dueling jungler with the Devourer still doesn't matter. Has enough combat stats. Cuvate level 11 with level 2 ult. Nice pick. They're going to push up, and Samsung already trying to get some lane control. Killing top laner, good way to do that.
Yep. Score going to try to hold on to that tower as best as he can, but both Cuvée and Ambition in the area is going to find a hard time to deny any damage off that thing. You already see it's being pushed down below half HP.
Samsung getting an objective advantage with all these delayed gold investments. Really have to worry for KT.
Yeah. Just like that off that 1 kill. They equalized the gold where KT was about 1,000 ahead.
No one has visited Dragon or Rift Herald.
Yep.
We might see Rift Herald off himself at 1955 without dying. What do you think? So I asked this question to Monty. When Rift Herald leaves the Rift at 1955 without dying, is he going on a holiday? Has he had enough? Ending his cruel existence? What do you think he's up to?
I'd like to think that he's just going on holiday. He's like, I'll see you guys next time.
To the Void?
I see I'm not needed
Where does he go? I don't know where he goes. Where does Rift Herald go? He's replaced by Baron, obviously. Is it the Void?
Maybe he evolves.
Into Baron?
Yeah.
That's a different idea.
He gets like a, there used to be a Void Stone or something rather than a Moonstone. It's a Void Stone that turns into Baron Nashor.
You've been playing Pokemon with your Moonstones.
Hey man, 20th anniversary, you can't say no to that, but Ambition getting engaged on, he wants to say no to this, but Score, they're trading the damage right back. Teleport comes in from Cuvée and Someday as they join the fray. Someday in the thick of Cuvée and Wraith has to back off. Looks like we're just going to have an exchange of teleports. Crown still holding on to his, obviously, in the mid lane. But this is KT starting up the Dragon, so finally making some moves for an objective of their own, but they get the reset. We'll delay the take for a little bit, but looks like it's going to be Samsung just surrendering this over to KT.
And look, that is a statement. That is a play-by-play call you would be making in this game if KT were playing properly 10 minutes ago. The fact that it's at 18 minutes and not 8 minutes means that fifth stack is so much further away. KT have picked a comp that should be monopolizing objectives like Dragon, but they've been very slow on the trigger, and 18 minutes is a slow first Dragon against a scaling comp like Samsung.
Yep. And once again, I can only hope that this does not become a 5-Dragon game.
There is
for Samsung.
There's certainly more than an outside chance of that.
It's quite possible. See though, all on his lonesome, someday getting ganked by Kube and Ambition, pops Ambition away with the ultimate. He will be safe to creep back to this tower. Takes a good chunk of damage. Now Score finds Ambition with that Javelin. Lamb's Respite is not up. He's not going to continue as Kube is there to back his teammate up.
Feels like if there was enough communication there, they would have known that both Lamb's Respite and the Sandra's ult were down, so killing and getting out would have been pretty easy for Score, but whether that was a miscommunication or just overly conservative play, and conservative is probably the best way to describe KT's first 20 minutes. Irregardless, feels like they missed out on a free kill.
Yeah, I do think that Score very easily could have gotten that had he followed up, but just wants to play the safe game, or maybe the ignorant game, not having that communication over the Frozen Tomb cooldown.
It's one of those heat of the moment things. Obviously he saw Lissandra's ult being used, that would have been down, but you have to remember that Kindred's ult has a very, very long cooldown, level 1 and level 2. So lack of an exact timer there.
Yeah, he just now got it back up. You can see that Rift Herald has in fact started the evolution. He went into his cocoon.
He's gone
now. Yeah, he is now emerged.
Goodbye, Herald the Herald.
Beautiful several-headed worm beast.
Beautiful. Not the word we're going to use to describe Baron Nashor.
Somebody out there.
Multitude of eyes.
In the world, somebody in the world of League of Legends thinks that Baron's effective.
You're right. I think that's pretty much true of everyone. That's why everyone's optimistic when it comes to dating, right?
Yeah.
There's someone for everyone.
Yeah. Plenty of worms in the sea. Crown, though, getting engaged on. It's a lot of damage. Has to pop the ultimate. Can fly, finish off the kill. He flashes away just like last time. Will keep himself alive. And KT not able to get a kill yet again. Still just 1-0 in favor of Samsung, but gold in favor of KT.
Lane pressure in mid, though. How many times in a row have we seen Crown get away on just a speck of health? This is a player who was dominating lanes just 2 weeks ago on LeBlanc, now playing a much more submissive role, basically allowing Fly to do whatever he wants. The question is it worth it? We still don't know how Zilean will interact with the team comp he has. On a simple level, we know his skills, but just given how we expect team fights to play out, not convinced by the Zilean pick, and going from dominating lanes and thus finishing games early 2 weeks ago to playing for the late game is a big change for Samsung Galaxy.
A big change indeed. We see Wraith rolling up here. Fly just gonna hang back, try to throw out some damage. I don't think he's gonna, oh wow, some damage. A lot of damage is more like it.
I guess
Wraith quite low.
One thing we didn't discuss, I was talking about how they haven't played in 2 weeks. In those 2 weeks, we've actually gone from patch 6.2 to 6.4, so we've done 2 patches since we last saw Samsung play. It's always interesting to see how these teams conceptualize new patches the first time they play on them.
Yeah, all the same though, it is 2 weeks to get used to the changes. Should be more than enough time for them to adapt. Especially at this level of play. And Shawnee just throws out the Pulverize to try to intimidate Core JJ, it would seem.
Mashing down the traps as well. Nothing really to separate these teams.
Score roaming down as well, takes away the Krugs. Did not land the Javelin, don't think there'd be too much follow-up, but this is going to be KT pressuring out this bot tower a bit. Meanwhile, Sunday getting pressure on the top side, does pop the Ambition away. Just like last time, Kube gets taken down to half HP, partially helped by that tower.
Kind of trying to play around the Poppy. This is something we've seen a few teams do. If you know there's no pressure on that side of the map, Poppy has only limited wave clear, so trying to take a turret with a ranged AD carry jungler and the ranged champion in Lissandra. Definitely a possibility. They know they're not going to be punished in terms of Dragon, because Dragon spawns another minute and a half.
Yep. They actually proxy that entire wave as well. So the hole comes out, Ray takes a bit of damage.
stacking war. 8 stack Rod of Ages for Lissandra. Will be close to 10 stacks when Dragon comes online. Halfway done will be the Zillion. And it was much later for Score, so only 3 stacks for the Nidalee. 30 minutes again is when we said Samsung comes online, so if they keep it even or just not lose much, lose the minimum, that's Samsung's goal for the first 30 minutes.
Yeah, we see CoreJJ trying to get a push on that bot tower, knowing that all of KT is away from him. Now throw him down, he's going to have to back off a little bit. Score goes in to try to steal away this red buff. Should be able to give this over to Arrow as well. He's no 6 for himself.
Like what Score's doing. This is Peanut-esque.
Yep.
A lot of pressure. Again, later than we would have hoped for, but now suddenly, with all this pressure, with running the bot side, red side jungle, second Dragon should be a formality for KT the moment it spawns.
Yeah, which is really good. The objective move that they need to make to try to counteract the scaling that Samsung does have for themselves.
Yeah, if you're going to take that Dragon, you got to start shopping. Fly is sitting on over 1,700 gold. Caitlyn as well. Dragon spawns in 5 seconds, so if KT back now, they will be late to the Dragon.
Yeah, they could just end up surrendering it over. Looks like they are going to go ahead and back off. Ambition is around the pit. They do spot him out, so maybe that will incentivize them to stick around. We can see Samsung are establishing themselves in the forefront of this pit. They're just going to go ahead and start with Dragon.
Just poor recall timings from KT. Really not expected when you take the first Dragon to be out of position picking up the second one, but Lux only now starts to react. It felt like Fly was the one who was really out of sync with his teammates, overstaying to push in a wave when he could have got a shot 30 seconds earlier and come in, maybe not with a completed Death Cap or Luton's Echo, but extra power to be able to fight for a second Dragon that we just said. With all that Dragon, remember the work, right? KT, they laid the groundwork for Dragon. They invaded with the Nidalee, Peanut-esque, they put down deep wards, and then they surrendered the Dragon. That's not how the story is supposed to go.
Yeah, they set up for it and then did nothing. So a little, not even a little questionable, very questionable there. Johnny gets poked out by CoreJJ. Two-shot barrage is not going to land. He, of course, did have his ultimate as well to keep himself alive, so it wasn't too much danger of going down.
What we can assume is that it's not the whole team. It sounds like the whole team's not in the same regard, because we have Hachani and Score invading for vision and Flyer overstaying in mid. There's a communication discrepancy somewhere in that story.
Very much. Someday, this is becoming the story for him, is just getting engaged on constantly by Ambition to invade that top side of the map. Really keeping him relegated underneath of this tier 2 tower. They coming back around. They could try to aggress, but looks like they're just going to try to chip away at this tower a little bit more.
Taking the turret down is the real goal here. Ambition tanks up far too many hits.
Yep, China goes in for the headbutt pulverize. Cannot find the knock-up. This tower looking like it's going to go down in the very near future. Score, complete opposite side of the map, unable to offer any assistance to Someday. Looks like they're going to try to trade these tier 2s as best as they can. A little wave clear from the Ezreal. Going to have to wait a little while now as the tower goes down on the top side. Someday taking a lot of damage. Ambition as well, but he does have the Lamb's Respite. And Someday nowhere to go, just gonna die.
Someday was so smart about playing around those turret dives back at Worlds, but you can tell, and he said in an interview recently that he felt extra pressure trying to carry this new KT lineup, and just questionable for him to be stuck on the turret. That's not Crown's in trouble.
Yeah, Crown taking a lot of damage. Of course, still has his ultimate available. Jukes out the Javelin. Will not land. Uwe coming to back up his mid laner. So they should be able to hold on to this tower for a bit longer as well.
But you're just never going to get a 1-for-1 trade when you're fighting against Lamb's Respite and the Lissandra in that particular case up the top. So I don't know why Someday stuck around. He probably felt pressure because he realized his team was going to be a lot slower at picking up the turret trade with those inner turrets in top and bot, but the result is a bonus kill when honestly none should have been forthcoming.
Yep. Nice little reprieve though. They do get the flash away from Wraith as he just went into creep, trying to take down the take ward. CoreJJ sticking around in his mid lane, gonna try to defend his tower. It's a good chunk of damage, but the rest of Samsung are collapsing from the top side. Mission and Kube are here. So they should be able to hold on to this tower. KT just trying to siege up as best as they can, clear out these waves. This is Kube coming in from the backside, freezes 3 people in place, and Johnny already has to pop the ultimate. Those 2 comes down onto Kube to keep himself alive. Somebody has joined the fray, goes on to Ambition to the sidelines. Kube now in the forefront, pops the Zonias, but still goes down to the Lux. A nice catch onto Crown. They pop the ace in the hole. They do have to cancel it as he uses his ultimate on himself. So far, it's a 1-for-1 top for support. It looks like this might just be the disengage as Core JJ is just going to try to poke down the remaining members of KT, incentivize them from going forward toward this tower.
You saw a very clear examination of what Samsung's comp does, or what it was picked to do. Excellent initiation from Cube and the backline, and then the Zillion in the middle of the fight, not really contributing much, was slow on the ult on Cube, ended up self-ulting, they didn't get the value out of it. Cube is a wonderful initiating Lissandra. We've seen this time and time again this season, but it feels like the rest of the comp isn't built to follow up on his initiation, and then you just have to come back to the draft and really work out how do they put all these parts together. We're going to see the replay of the fight. I mean, it's a 3-man initiator. It's beautiful from Cube. Just track the Zillion pick here. So far, auto-attacking, waiting for cooldowns. Needs to get an ult on Cube, but instead it's completely burst down. Crown offers almost nothing, then basically dies to a single combo. Has to ult himself, now it's a complete non-factor. There's no Zillion speed up target. Oh boy.
Oh, gets popped, but he gets the ultimate just in time. Scores here to try to follow up with the kill, but he's quite healthy. Here comes Lissandra. Cube again gets popped up. Frozen Tomb down onto the Nidalee as he eats the barrage. Now Cube with ace in the hole will get blocked by Wraith. Gonna keep themselves alive, but just at the last second does finish off Score. A 1-for-0 in favor of Samsung with several members of KT quite low on HP. I think they're going to push forward into this Tier 1 mid tower.
Can't take it though. Fly still half mana, full health, so be able to wave clear. That was a fun little skirmish. The skirmishing certainly is pretty good for Samsung. It's the team fights, right? It's when they're in the open, you're like, okay, this is where the team fight falls apart. But if you're skirmishing, 3v3, 2v2, so many invulnerability tools, Samsung have a lot of options.
Well, they do. Arrow and Fly trying to hold on to this tower. Looks like they will be able to do so. The trap line is stopping people from getting too close to it. But still, this is Samsung looking to take a pretty strong lead, 4-1, barely behind in gold. The Dragons are just down a tower. KT just not able to find some solid ground in this game quite just yet.
So much is going to be getting that pick in the late game, but getting that deletion, obviously very hard to do against a Zillion.
Yep.
But KT can find that first kill, their strong siege comp will come online, and Samsung will be much better kiting back than they will be initiating. So I think we're going to see a pretty wary approach from both these teams in the mid game, because they realize the penalty for one death is going to be multiple turrets, potentially an inhibitor, just because there's a lot of tools to take turrets in terms of turret damage.
Yep, you can see Dragon has just spawned. Bot Tier 1 tower goes down in favor of Samsung, but Score is finding Ambition. He is alone, but this is going to be the teleport from Cube as they try to re-aggress. Someday is on the backside, Fly rotating down. It does not look like they want this fight, and now Someday in a bad spot. Core JJ takes a little bit of damage. Wraith playing in the forefront, trying to tank up for his team. This is going to be Lissandra from the sidelines. Does not follow the glacial path, gets stunned into the wall by Someday. This could be the turnaround that KT needs to take the lead. They're taking a lot of damage. Cube stuck, has to Frozen Tomb onto himself. Johnny trying to tank up Sunday. Now getting targeted by all members of Samsung, still staying alive somehow. Cube not going down either. And now a huge amount of damage coming through. Wraith not gonna die. It's gonna be Score finding one, but falls himself. It's gonna be 2-for-1 in favor of KT, as they do finish off Cube and Ambition.
When you've got so many invulnerabilities and untargeted abilities, people take massive damage but don't die. That was the story of the fight. In the end, Samsung had both their initiators or both their frontliners in that fight, as Ambition did skip forward. Split off from the rest of the team. Nothing Zillion, Ezreal, and Trundle could provide from range. So KT pick up the Dragon, that's their second, so not a big win, but do manage to keep the gold still very, very close.
Yeah. Right now, that's what they need. They need to stretch it further, but if they can stay close, still decent for KT.
Worth noting that, as I pointed out countless times this game, Samsung did spend their gold in the early game for 30 minutes. So all their builds are now online. Even though the gold is even, the efficiency of the items purchased by Samsung is higher. The question is, can they overcome their scattered comp with an initiator, a utility champion, a tank or tank buster and Trundle, and 2 backliners into winning team fights? That's the part of the question we haven't seen the answer to just yet.
Well, if KT keep making scattered calls, like we've seen from them, especially that second Dragon of the game, that it could be very possible for Samsung. take a solid lead and maybe a win in the series.
We've got so many people building damage. It's 4 damage dealers on the side of Samsung. A pick certainly overcomes any discrepancy in their team comp. So when everyone's building damage and everyone can make picks, sure, there is that possibility. It's just when we see the ARAM Fest with 1 million traps down, then it looks a little bit harder to get those picks.
Just slightly. Zero clearing out this mid wave, trying to get this tower remotely near that tier 1 mid. They have not been able to knock down quite just yet. But for JJ, there's a good amount of clear. So he can constantly fire out those Mystic shots. Not going to be able to find anything quite just yet. Score coming in from the sidelines. Have to be careful as Crown and Ambition are above them in the river.
They don't have vision on Cuvée. They will see him now with a blue trinket ward though.
Sunday does have his teleport, so Play erupts in this mid lane. Did join the team. But right now it is about a 4v5.
Such a standoff between the two teams. Strong wave clear on both sides means that we're at another game where 35 minutes in, both outer mid lane turrets are up.
I was hoping for some shorter games compared to yesterday, but it doesn't seem like it's going to happen. Oh, Crown takes a lot of damage. Ultimate does come across. Doesn't actually finish him. Oh, Score does get him with the Javelin. Can they follow up there? Fajani's there. Does not get the pulverize as they flash away. Now he gets stunned up under the tower. Has to pop his own ultimate. Arrow doing what he can, throwing out immense amounts of damage onto Wraith.
But with Someday and Cuvée not there, guess what happens after the initial burst? Both teams kite back, nobody dies, and we reset.
Yep. And we're right back where we started, and Crown almost has his ultimate up again. Good old Zilean.
Fair enough, wave clear to stop this turret going down. The double bomb.
Oh,
whoa!
Nice double bomb. Arrow takes so much damage. That's enough to incentivize Cuvée to come forward. Has the Frozen Tomb down onto himself. But Johnny with no more ultimate does get popped. He goes down. Wraith finds the kill. Cuvée trying to get out of here. Score from the bot side, throwing out the javelins. Arrow gets caught. They dash onto Cuvée. He gets popped as well. Score finds that kill. Now the Lamb's Respite used by Ambition. Lux ultimate comes through. Almost takes down Core JJ and Crown, who's still holding on to that ultimate. It's going to be very difficult for KT to find any more kills here. But at least a trade back onto Cuvée for Hachani.
The crazy thing about all this invulnerability, that the reward of getting a single pick is just some turret damage, maybe not even the turret falling. Score running interference though. Finally they get this mid lane turret. That was just reward for 5 minutes of just chipping away cooldowns in the mid lane.
Yep. Arrow did have to go back and try to lifesteal up with what little lifesteal he does have with that Mercurial Scimitar.
Double bomb did ludicrous amounts of damage.
Yeah, quite absurd. Almost just killing him outright with those. Fortunate for him though, does stay alive. Even more fortunate for KT, able to trade at least 1 kill back by taking down Cuvée, who just went a little too deep. Greedily trying to take down Arrow.
He had the Mikhail's Crucibles. Oh, face
Oh,
check.
Ambition. There's no Lamb's Respite available, so it looks like he might just go down. Does pop the flash, but the flash forward by Someday as well. Gets the Zilean ultimate just in time. Is there enough follow-up here from KT? No final spark from the Lux. Slow's not coming through. Maybe now Someday in a bad spot. Score comes in. They stun Wraith into the wall. This should just be KT heading for the hills. Wraith jukes out the snare. No one will fall here on either side.
We expected a burst to come onto Ambition. Remember, it's full tank Poppy and Alistair. And there was a big mechanical mistake. Someday actually missed the knock-up on the Keeper's Verdict with the double tap. And they didn't have enough CC. It's what allowed Zilean to get in range to activate that ult. Means that he lives. Everyone backs away. And once again this game, the recurring story, a lot of damage comes through, but nobody dies.
Yep. And now Lamb's Respite is back up, as is the Zilean ultimate, so all
goody.
is well for Samsung yet again.
Oh, this is a crazy game.
It's at least more skirmishy than the games that we saw yesterday.
Well, people's health bars elapse, but they don't die.
Yeah.
Thanks, Zilean.
Yeah. Can't kill Ian the Zilean, or any of his friends for that matter, as it seems.
Ultimate bro.
Yep.
Get the groovy Zilean's skin back.
Don't worry, friend.
I'll bring you back.
You'll never die.
Need some Guardian Angels as well. I bet you Someday we'll build that eventually.
The ultimate annoyance.
Just a counter or the revive on the enemy side.
Cuvée not going to follow through with that glacial path. Doesn't want to go quite into the face of 4 members of KT by himself. third dragon, possibly for KT, has just spawned. If they want to continue on that train, which I think that they do. Possible second dragon for Samsung.
5 traps being put down. Looking for flank wards. We can see there's some good flank ward opportunities here for QV.
Or JJ just threatening this push on the tower as well.
Want to pop these traps before they see Dragon started from KT. They have position on it, so they can do it now.
Poor JJ is just going to sit here with the Mystic shots and try to chip down as much as possible. Save these bombs. He's in the hole, will come out and will catch poor JJ, but he barely takes any damage for it. Meanwhile, Score has finished off the Dragon, so he traded it against Ambition. Now Crown takes a bit of damage, will pop his ultimate, so that is exposed. Score, though, is maybe going to go down. No, it's going to keep himself alive with the Zonia's. Lux ultimate comes across, Score will still fall to Ambition. The Lamb's Respite used, still quite low, but looks like he will get out of the fight someday with that bomb ticking on his head. Will go down. Dashes into Crown to try to keep the rest of his team alive, but that's going to be 2 kills going over to Samsung to trade for the third dragon for KT.
So KT fights so much better as a 5-man unit, but Score was on the side, on a flank, fighting against 2 members because he was taking the dragon. He got that dragon, but what will the cost be? Obviously 2 people died. Someday we'll teleport back in 45 seconds. No smite. This is a window for Samsung to potentially look at the Baron, but they need Kindred and Ezreal auto-attacking because they have very little Baron damage outside those 2. Ambition with Devourer and the Kindred passive does a lot of damage to the Baron.
They are both here. Baron already down a half HP. Fly using that E to try to get some vision on it. I don't think he's going to be able to steal this one away. It'd be a miraculous Lux ultimate if he goes for it. He does. Only takes it down to 700, however, and that will be the smite the smite take from Ambition.
Say a big penalty for third dragon.
Yep.
KT with Score fighting on a flank. There was no way for them to back him up. He dies and then Poppy has to go have a kill. So the big question here is Score. Remember, they have a 5-man unit. If you have Poppy in a choke in the front, there's no way to fight against this KT team and everyone's safe. But instead, Score goes very aggressive, then he pounces aggressively into Lamb's Respite. Ambition is fighting alone. Arrow has to kite back with the rest of his team. It means Score will die, and then Samsung's a 5-man unit with the speed up from Zillion, so someone else is going to die. It ends up being the frontliner in Someday, and this is a third dragon fight. Third dragon buff at 40 minutes. The 1-for-1. Okay, at 20 minutes, absolutely a 1-for-1, because it's only a 25-second death timer.
Yeah.
At 40 minutes, we're talking about almost a minute-long death timer, and the punishment is the Baron.
Yep. Now with those Baron-empowered minions, Fly's wave clear is going to be not nearly as effective.
Will Baron buff, and 40 minutes into the game, Samsung be able to take a turret mid lane?
It looks like they will be able to do just that. Turret does fall. Might want to continue on this one. Poor JJ takes a lot of damage. That is the Zillion ultimate coming out from Crown.
Not been convinced by these Zillion ults from Crown. You always know those players that cast just at the right time, and those players that are a bit early, and so far Crown's been either early or late, which is a big deal when it's Zillion, a champion who has the double bomb, and then ult timing is basically the only other skill cap about this champion.
Yep. He's had a few decently essential ones that were right on time, but I mean, it doesn't matter too much when he basically already has the ultimate back up, plus a blue buff. They're gonna pop onto Core JJ. Johnny goes forward, cannot find the headbutt pulverize. Core JJ barely getting out alive. And Crown's ultimate is back up just in time to save him if needed.
Samsung's sieging, definitely inferior to KT's. We talked about that in team comps. The big issue with their sieging is that Lux doesn't have a long cooldown on that binding. The first one hits, okay, it'll be cleansed, or maybe we'll see the Zillion ult. But there's still 90 seconds, I believe, until Mikhail's Crucible comes, sorry, not Mikhail's Crucible, the Imperial Scimitar comes up again, and that's plenty of time to Lux get a second round of damage. Each of those full rounds of damage has the potential to burst from full Core JJ. So sieging is so tricky when you have Fly on this Lux, looking for the pick every time.
Yep. So their sieging is still quite nice since KT can't even get in a position to do that.
Drop Portal has been activated by Someday, so that's helping the minion wave push up top against the Baron buff.
Yep. This onslaught of bombs and mystic shots continues in the mid lane. Mission carrying out some vision on the side.
They should really be going to top to push in this wave. There's no inhibitor down, so the Drop Portal minions will push back the minion wave.
Sticking around. I mean, this bot tower has taken an immense amount of damage. Samsung looking like they're just going to rotate down here and take this tower instead of the mid. Do finish that one off, so good rotation still by Samsung, getting themselves another objective.
get the objective as you mentioned. With Dragon spawning 2, having mid lane and bot lane pushing means that that second Dragon buff should be pretty easy for Samsung to get in a minute and a half, but looks like they'll back away for now.
Yeah, they do have to go back and respect that giant wave, as you mentioned, that has been created in the top side of the map, with help by that Zerat portal. So we already see Kube roaming over there, more than happy to clear that wave out.
It's good to see more and more Zerat portal. The stats this item give the same as Guardian Angel, a really big amount of flat resist, both magic resist and armor, but if you're building full tank, a champion like Poppy, she's not good at dealing with waves. That's why we saw the strategy of sending Kindred and Lissandra to push her in, but in these grouping stages of the game, absolutely Zerat portal makes up for some of the weaknesses Poppy might have in her kit to create map pressure in a way the champion's kit doesn't provide.
Now we're seeing, after being behind for quite some time, Crown has surpassed Fly in CS. Arrow as well has taken a very significant lead, but 44 minutes.
That's 6 items already.
Yeah.
Fair to say the Fly does as well, though.
Yeah.
May only have 1 damage rotation, but when it's 6 items Zillion with Void Staff, that double bomb, again, it's hard to hit that stun. But if you do...
We saw what it does to Arrow, so... Especially now with 6 items, it's going to be even more devastating.
Cleanse isn't enough, too, because you cleanse in that situation, you're at 20% health. Any other skill shot hits you, you're dead anyway.
Yeah, pretty much. And a Mystic Shot from Core JJ is quite low. Let's see, Johnny takes a bit of damage, already has to pop the ultimate. It's going to be very bad for the Sparing Fight, but now Kube coming around the sidelines will get... he does not follow the Trojan Flat forward. Does drop the first tomb onto Someday. Who gets it off, jumps out of there. Keeps himself alive for the time being, but this is going to be Samsung quite open to take their second Dragon of the game. Help their sieging quite a bit.
Someday ports back, he has teleport, but they do surrender the second Dragon. No Zerat portal activation just yet, so just going to go push back this very grouped minion wave in top. Think of all the gold.
Yeah, bot lane as well, being cleared out by Kube.
Every time I see a big minion wave, I roleplay Nasus. I'm like, yes, yes, the stacks.
Especially with if you were a Nasus on the other side of the Zerat portal, that's just heaven.
Juicy. Might not be getting gold, but getting damage.
Wasting relic shield stacks.
Yep. Saw that Reddit front page post too. They should change that interaction. It's dumb that it gives the Targons.
Yeah, it's quite silly.
Stacks, not good. Game is balanced on such a knife edge. Samsung, they don't have a comp for initiation outside the teleport flanks. Teleports down. KT have very good wave clear, very good siege, but are very much on the back foot.
Yeah. If they could just get 1 pick, it would give them enough leverage
what
to
does
go
a pick,
for it.
Okay, but see, when I say things like that too, but what does a pick look like when Zillion's there? Is Crown napping at that point?
That's what I'm saying. If they can actually manage to get it, where Crown forgets what champion he's playing, when
well, let's think about it.
Ambition's not there.
How do you get a pick against a Zillion comp? You don't fight on one front. You don't fight grouped as a 5v5. You set up skirmishes, and that's what you can try and do. Either that or you just DPS down the Zillion, then change target, which is also a possibility. With Mikhail's Crucible from Wraith, you actually expect that Mikhail's Crucible to probably be used on Crown, given he's the only person without a invulnerability or an untarget ability like Lissandra. You don't want him to use his ult on himself. That's undesirable from the perspective of the Zillion.
It's that much harder to get a skirmish. You have pretty bad vision coverage. See, KT has a few wards strewn about by the Baron Pit, but it's nothing compared to Samsung, who has basically the entirety of KT's red jungle warded up.
Let's fight in the mid lane. 47 minutes.
But let's fight in the mid lane.
By fight, I mean clear wins. They're both really good at that.
I didn't realize there was anything other than clearing waves.
That's true. You've had a realistic introduction to champions. The fight becomes about who can hit 500 CS first. Unless the Rocks Tigers are playing.
Well, it looks like it's going to be Arrow.
Wow, he's perilously close himself.
That just means they win the game, right?
I mean, I haven't checked the OGN rulebook, but
it's ARAM times 5, so instead of hitting 100, you have to hit 500.
Ah, okay. 5 times the skill cap.
Yeah. So Arrow just won the game. It's great.
Oh boy. Lissandra, Zillion, Ezreal, wave clear versus Lux, Caitlyn, wave clear. Caitlyn with the Hurricane for more wave clear. Sell that Hurricane for a static Shiv. That's what I want to see.
Yeah.
Sorry, the rapid fire cannon. You don't need that. That doesn't give me wave clear. It feels like Samsung have initiation every 5 minutes with Cuvée, and then if it's not up or they're not going for it, this is the result where everyone's trading farm. It means that everyone's going to get to 6 items. We're getting to that point, or close to that point already. Let's check who's short of 6 items. Just the supports. Everyone else at 6 items. So 48 minutes in, death time is at 80 seconds roughly. Give us that
maybe
pick.
in a bad spot, gets popped up by the Poppy ultimate, has to flash away. Only gets knocked down to half HP, so the rest of KT not quite there to follow up on that catch.
Chunked out Wraith, only to half health. KT walking towards the Baron. No way to do it just yet.
He's already healed up. He's already full HP almost. Oh, here we go. Wraith maybe in a bad spot. Gets the Zillion ultimate, keep himself alive. They go ahead and pop it, so he's going to come back up with a lot of HP. But now knowing that that's down, they go on to Crown to try to get a kill, but someday he's just getting chunked out. The Zerat portal has been thrown down in the middle.
Combat Zerat portal!
Go, my minions, win me the fight! And it doesn't do that, so. But with several members chunked out, this could be KT going for a Baron.
Crown will have his ult in roughly 5 seconds. Samsung pushing up again. They're going to look for an engage.
The W. Go ahead, they drop the vision. It's down to about half HP. He's throwing down the pillar. Cuvée maybe going in here. No, doesn't follow the glacial path quite just yet.
3,000 health.
Shot Barrage has been used. Are they going to get this? Yes, they do. Cuvée goes in, has the Frozen Tomb down onto himself, and Ambition has just been popped without using the Lamb's Respite. Now Crown does get the ultimate on himself just in time. He will come up in the thick of KT, however. Looks like he's going to go down as long as they can get the chase onto him. The Frozen Fist, the Javelin goes through, but it does not fly true.
Don't chase the Zillion.
Yeah, you cannot chase the Zillion. KT just have to turn and eye up this mid lane, where JJ quite low does get the recall off in time, but with that fight at Baron, KT just turned this game right on its head.
And you have to feel like Ambition didn't respect 6 item Caitlyn's damage. The headshot did 1,400 as a crit, and he died with Lamb's Respite available. Crown in no position to put down the ult. Teleport comes in to keep another minion alive. They're at minimum gonna lose this inhibitor, and there's still 30 seconds on both Cuvée and Ambition.
Yeah, Someday looking for a charge stun. Ace in the Hole's gonna come out. Wraith gets that one for his team. Baron empowered minions coming in. Double cannon minions as well. They could at least take down some of these towers, if not just win the game right here, where JJ uses the True Shot Barrage, takes so much damage. The Javelin does not land, but the tower's down. The Nexus exposed, and KT, after being behind for so long, is gonna win game 1.
KT picked Samsung's pocket. There's no other way to put it. One fight, specifically the one pick onto Wraith. Of all the members here, Zillion included, Zillion does not want to be ulting the support. Was forced to, then they were slow to react. They had multiple people chunk out as they went over to the Baron. Cuvée went in to try and contest, but there was no smite war. And in the end, it's going to be KT just taking it out of nowhere after just basically watching Samsung clear waves for a good 25 minutes.
Yeah. What an explosive end. The game was just a time bomb waiting to happen, evidently.
I mean, when death timers as long as they are, 40 minutes plus, this is the result you get. 2 kills is enough to end a game in patch 6.4. We saw the damage numbers on our screen a few minutes ago. Ezreal had so much more damage than anyone on the side of Samsung. It was incredible.
Yeah. KT have to be breathing a sigh of relief after that game. So close the entire time, and it looked like Samsung really had that game in their hands. KT really able to come back at the end, but while it's great that you win, you can't feel too good about that game because it just took so long and came down to one fight for them to win it.
Samsung's really going to have to shake off with their veteran shot calling what is a tough loss to take. They got what they wanted, a 30-minute game where they were even with all their scattered power spikes. They got through their greedy builds, and one fight, and they were done.
Yeah. That's just how it goes sometimes. But when we come back, we're going to see if Samsung can find themselves a win or if KT is going to 2-0. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a few minutes with Game 2.